What if the next 30 days could completely redefine who you are? Not your circumstances, not your luck, not your past. You, right now, there is a quiet frustration living inside you. You feel it when you wake up and hit snooze. You feel it when you promise to start tomorrow. You feel it when you see someone else winning and wonder why you are still stuck. It is not jealousy. It is not weakness. It is the pain of unrealized potential, the deep knowing that you are capable of more, yet repeating the same patterns. Here is the truth most people avoid. Your life does not change when the calendar changes. It changes when your standards change. And standards are proven through action. You do not need a new year. You do not need perfect conditions. You need 30 focused days of discipline. Transformation feels overwhelming because you try to fix everything at once. Your body, your finances, your habits. Your mindset, you set huge goals, burn out, and then quietly return to comfort. That cycle destroys self-trust, and once self-trust is damaged, everything feels harder. But science shows something powerful. Identity shifts through repeated behavior. When you perform a new action consistently, your brain rewires, neural pathways strengthen. What once felt difficult becomes normal. Confidence is not a personality trait. It is evidence that you keep promises to yourself. 30 days is enough to create that evidence. 30 days of waking up when you said you would. 30 days of doing the hard task first. 30 days of choosing growth over comfort. That is long enough to break a destructive pattern. Long enough to build momentum. Long enough to look in the mirror and see someone different. Centuries ago, a warrior named Miyamoto Musashi understood this better than most. He was undefeated in battle, but his greatest victories were internal. He mastered distraction. He mastered fear. He mastered himself. Near the end of his life, he wrote down simple rules for discipline and clarity. They were not complex. They were not glamorous. They were brutally honest. And they work because human nature has not changed. You are not stuck because you lack talent. You are stuck because comfort has become your default, because excuses have become familiar. Because discipline feels optional. But what if, for 30 days, discipline became non-negotiable? Imagine waking up with clarity instead of confusion. Imagine feeling in control of your impulses instead of controlled by them. Imagine finishing each day knowing you executed, regardless of how you felt. That feeling is powerful. It builds pride. And pride builds momentum. This is your reward for staying until the end, not empty motivation, not hype that fades tomorrow, a clear framework, 5 simple rules. A structure you can follow starting today. If you commit fully, these next 30 days can restore your self-respect. They can rebuild your confidence. They can remind you who you are when you stop negotiating with weakness. The clock is already moving. The days will pass whether you act or not. The only difference is who you become when they do. So ask yourself again, what if the next 30 days could completely redefine you? Because they can, and it starts with a decision right now. That decision becomes real the moment you face your first impulse. Because your life is not controlled by big, dramatic moments. It is controlled by small daily choices that feel insignificant. The extra hour of sleep, the endless scrolling, the snack you did not need, the task you delayed. Each one whispers the same message to your brain: comfort matters more than growth. And every time you obey that whisper, you strengthen it. Your brain is wired for pleasure. Dopamine rewards what feels good now, not what builds you later. That is why discipline feels hard at first. You are going against biology, but here is the power hidden inside that struggle. When you delay gratification, when you choose effort over ease, your brain adapts. The reward system recalibrates. You begin to find satisfaction in progress instead of indulgence. This is where real change starts. Stop seeking pleasure for its own sake. Not because pleasure is evil, but because chasing it makes you weak. When your day revolves around comfort, your standards drop. You begin to negotiate with your goals. You tell yourself you will start after one more video, one more snack, one more distraction. But one more becomes a habit, and habits become identity. For 30 days, flip the pattern. Work before reward, effort before entertainment, discipline before comfort. If you want to check your phone, complete one meaningful task first. If you crave junk food, drink water and wait 10 minutes. If you want to quit, do 5 more minutes. These are small acts, but they send a massive signal to your mind: I am in control. And control builds confidence faster than success ever will. There is another trap that keeps you stuck, using pleasure to escape discomfort. You are not always chasing joy. Sometimes you are running from stress, from boredom, from fear. You scroll because you feel anxious. You eat because you feel overwhelmed. You distract yourself because sitting with your thoughts feels heavy. But every time you escape discomfort, you teach your brain that discomfort is dangerous. And it is not. Discomfort is growth in disguise. When you sit with the urge and do not immediately satisfy it, something incredible happens. The intensity fades. Your nervous system stabilizes. You realize you can survive the feeling. That realization is strength. Emotional resilience is built in these quiet battles no one sees. Complaining has to end here too. Complaining feels justified. It gives you temporary relief. It bonds you with others through shared frustration. But it trains your brain to focus on what is wrong. The more you complain, the more problems you notice. Stress pathways become stronger. Solutions become invisible. For 30 days, replace every complaint with ownership. Instead of asking why this is happening to you, ask what you can do about it. Even if the answer is small, especially if it is small, you do not control everything, but you control your response. When you master your desires and refuse to escape discomfort, you become dangerous in a quiet way. You stop reacting, you start choosing, you stop drifting, you start directing. And that shift changes everything. Because once you prove to yourself that you can control your impulses, you no longer feel like a victim of your moods. You become the architect of your actions. And when you control your actions consistently, your results have no choice but to change. And once you realize you can control your impulses, a deeper battle reveals itself. Your emotions. There will be mornings when you do not feel motivated, afternoons when doubt creeps in, evenings when exhaustion feels heavier than your ambition. If you wait for the right feeling, you will sabotage your own progress, because feelings are unstable. They rise and fall like waves. If your discipline depends on emotion, your life will always be inconsistent. You must stop depending on how you feel in the moment. Your feelings are real, but they are not commands. They are signals, and signals can be misleading. You can feel tired when you are simply unfocused. You can feel incapable when you are simply inexperienced. You can feel fear when you are simply growing. Action must become stronger than emotion. Psychology proves this over and over. When you take action first, emotion follows. Movement reduces anxiety. Progress increases dopamine and serotonin. Completing a task builds momentum. You do not wait to feel confident before you act. You act, and confidence catches up. For these 30 days, you will create a rule inside your mind. I do not negotiate with my moods. If you said you would train, you train. If you said you would study, you study. If you said you would wake up early, you wake up. Not because you feel inspired, but because you respect your word. Every time you follow through despite resistance, you strengthen self-trust. And self-trust is the foundation of power. Without it, you hesitate. With it, you move decisively. At the same time, another silent enemy must be confronted: your ego. Ego wants to look good more than it wants to grow. It fears embarrassment. It avoids situations where you might fail. It whispers that you should protect your image instead of risking improvement. And because of that whisper, you stay comfortable. You avoid the gym because you feel out of shape. You avoid starting because you might not be great immediately. You avoid asking questions because you do not want to look inexperienced. That protection is costing you your potential. When you think lightly of yourself, you free yourself. You allow yourself to be a beginner. You allow yourself to be corrected. You allow yourself to learn without feeling attacked. Feedback becomes fuel instead of a threat. At the same time, think deeply of the world around you. Observe, study, listen more than you speak. Replace the need to impress with the desire to improve. The moment you shift from proving to learning, your growth accelerates. Humility is not weakness, it is strategy. When you detach from the need for validation, your focus sharpens. You stop performing for approval and start building real skill. You stop comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. You accept reality as it is. If you are behind, admit it. If you lack discipline, admit it. If you wasted time, admit it. Truth is not an insult. It is a starting point. Radical honesty removes illusion, and illusion is what keeps you stagnant. Over these 30 days, your emotions will fluctuate. Your ego will resist. You will feel exposed at times. But each time you act anyway, each time you choose growth over pride, you carve a stronger identity. Not loud, not flashy, solid. And solid people build solid lives. And when your identity becomes solid, something else begins to fade. Fear. Not because fear disappears, but because it loses control over you. There is one truth most people avoid thinking about. Your time is limited. Your energy is limited. Your opportunities are limited. You do not have endless chances to become who you were meant to be. And when you truly accept that, procrastination starts to look absurd. Petty arguments lose importance. Endless scrolling feels empty. You begin to see how casually you have been spending the most valuable resource you own. Your life. When you remember that your days are numbered, clarity sharpens. Psychologists have studied this. When people confront their mortality, they focus more on meaning. They take braver action. They prioritize what truly matters, not because they are afraid, but because they understand urgency. You do not need to fear death. You need to fear a life half-lived. A life where you played small. A life where you waited for permission. A life where comfort became your master. Let this awareness wake you up. You are not here to drift. You are here to execute. But there is balance in this urgency. You cannot attach your worth to outcomes. If you measure your value only by winning, you will live on an emotional roller coaster. Some days you will feel unstoppable. Other days you will feel like a failure. That instability destroys consistency. Instead, attach yourself to the process. You control effort. You control preparation. You control how you show up. You do not control every result. You can train hard and still lose. You can work relentlessly and still face rejection. You can improve and still move slower than you hoped. That is not failure, that is life. When you focus on execution instead of outcome, anxiety decreases. Your mind stops obsessing over what might happen. It centers on what must be done today. Did you train? Did you learn? Did you build? Did you keep your word? That is the only scoreboard that matters. Over these 30 days, measure your inputs, count the hours you focused, track the promises you kept. Notice the distractions you resisted. Fall in love with the discipline itself. Because when you respect your process, results become a byproduct, and something powerful happens when you live this way. You begin to respect yourself, not because the world applauds you, not because you went viral, not because you outperformed everyone else, but because you know in private you are no longer negotiating with weakness. Picture yourself 30 days from now, waking up with intention, acting without waiting for motivation, facing discomfort without escaping, learning without ego, executing without obsessing over the outcome. You will not be perfect, but you will be different, stronger, clearer, more certain. The next 30 days will pass no matter what. Time does not pause for hesitation. The only choice you have is who you become while it moves. You can remain the person who almost started. Or you can become the person who decided, committed, and executed. Control your desires, master your emotions, release your ego, focus on the process, act with urgency. Do this for 30 days and you will not just change your habits. You will change your identity. And once your identity shifts, your life has no choice but to follow. And when your identity shifts, you will feel it before anyone else sees it. It will show up in the way you walk into a room, in the way you speak, in the way you handle pressure. Not because your life suddenly became perfect, but because you are no longer at war with yourself. The chaos inside begins to quiet. The excuses lose their voice. The hesitation fades faster. This is the real victory. For years, you may have tried to change your results without changing your standards. You wanted better outcomes with the same discipline, bigger rewards with the same effort, more respect with the same habits, but life does not respond to wishes, it responds to alignment. When your actions align with your potential, results begin to move. The 5 rules you have embraced are not just strategies. They are filters, filters for your decisions, filters for your reactions, filters for who you are becoming. When pleasure calls, you ask whether it serves your growth. When discomfort appears, you lean in instead of running. When emotions fluctuate, you act based on values, not moods. When ego rises, you choose humility and learning. When fear whispers about uncertainty, you return to the process. This is how transformation compounds. Momentum is not loud in the beginning. It is subtle. It is waking up on time when no one is watching. It is finishing the workout when quitting would be easier. It is studying while others scroll. It is staying silent and observing instead of arguing to protect pride. These moments seem small, but they stack, and stacked days become stacked weeks. Stacked weeks become a different life. You begin to trust yourself again. That trust changes your posture toward the future. You stop doubting whether you can handle challenges. You stop fearing difficulty because you have trained in it daily. You no longer need constant motivation because discipline has taken its place. And discipline is freedom. Freedom from impulse. Freedom from distraction. Freedom from emotional chaos. Freedom from needing validation. When you can command yourself, the world loses its power to shake you. There will still be obstacles. There will still be setbacks, but you will face them differently. You will not collapse at the first sign of resistance. You will not dramatize every delay. You will adjust, execute, and continue. That calm persistence is rare, and rare qualities create rare results. Imagine looking back after these 30 days and realizing you kept your word more often than you broke it. Imagine feeling proud not because everything worked out perfectly, but because you showed up relentlessly. That pride is addictive in the best way. It fuels higher standards. It demands consistency. It refuses mediocrity. This is how you fix your life, not through a single breakthrough moment, not through luck, not through waiting for clarity, but through daily alignment with principles that make you stronger. The world may not notice immediately. That is fine. This is not about applause, this is about identity, and identity drives destiny. 30 days ago, you were operating on old patterns. Today, you operate on intention. 30 days ago, comfort led your decisions. Today, purpose does. 30 days ago, you hesitated. Today, you execute, keep going. Because the person you are becoming does not need hype. They need consistency, they need standards, they need action, and now you have all three.